and welcome to the Thursday night AngryMarks.com Pro Wrestling and Mixed Martial Arts podcast. My name is Stevie J, and we're doing a little bit of a slight alteration of the formula this week. Normally we would have Abby and William Huckabee with us, but tonight it's just a two-man crew along with our producer Kevin. So let me introduce to you the other half of the podcast, the one and only Great Sudoku.
Hey, Angry Marks. Yeah, hopefully the two of them will be with us next week and we can talk about the aftermath of Extreme Rules and the aftermath of the finals of the Best of the Super Juniors, but it's me and Stevie tonight.
That's right. And speaking of the aftermath of Best of the Super Juniors, the way we got there is we had the final shows for Block A and Block B this week. So without further ado, let's talk about that and let's reveal who those finalists are. Jason, go ahead.
Sure. The finalist in Block A is Will Ospreay. He has 10 points. In Block B, we had an interesting situation where we had a four-way tie between Kushida, Bushi, Taguchi, and Kanemaru, each with 8 points. But by way of victories and tiebreakers, Kushida wins Block B.
That's right. And I feel a little bit of a stud right now because I predicted that Kushida would emerge the winner of Block B. But I'm a little surprised because I thought Marty Scurll would win Block A.
So do I. What I'm seeing here is very conservative booking on the part of Gedo in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've seen Kushida and Will Ospreay before. We've seen Will Ospreay win the Best of the Super Juniors before. Granted, Kushida is starting to develop a new style. He's getting away from the hoverboard lock, going to a move called Back to the Future, this package jackhammer, as I've been calling it. Interesting looking pinning move, but I really hope that they let Will Ospreay go over Kushida in the finals and actually give Ospreay a chance to win the title. I'd like to see Ospreay with a title run. They didn't pull the trigger on it this year, and if he wins it 2 years in a row, I would say it's time to pull the trigger on Will Ospreay.
I think so too, but of course, to get to those finals, we had some excellent Block B and Block A matches. Well, some excellent and some not excellent. I know you got your favorites and your lowlights, so I'll let you run those down and then I'll interject as we get to them.
Sure. Yeah, my favorite matches, let's go for favorite matches overall from the tournament. One of them was from, recently was from the 31st, was from yesterday. That was Ricochet versus Marty Scurll. I think this is the best match of the tournament. It stole the thunder from the main event that came after it with Will Ospreay and Hiromu. Even though you did have Ospreay pinning the champion, it did feel like a main event, but Ricochet and Scurll, even though it went a shorter period of time, it was just so much more exhilarating, action-packed. It's one of those fresh matchups, and it really worked, and I hope we'll get to see the two of them face off more often in the future. Definitely check out Ricochet versus Marty Scurll from the May 31st Best of the Super Juniors show. Then, what was it? It was either the 28th or the 29th, the B Block show, where the main event was Kushida versus Taguchi, where Abby ended up winning her bet with Will Huckabee on this match, because damned if Kushida and Taguchi didn't turn in a good match. And B Block had just been sucking so bad, and it's like every B Block show, it was just a migraine to sit through. This entire show, though, the first two matches on that B Block show weren't very good. The last two were better, but Kushida and Taguchi, while it wasn't worked in a junior heavyweight style, I really didn't care. So two of them went out there, had a New Japan strong style match. It just worked. So definitely second on my list is Kushida versus Taguchi, just because I didn't think Taguchi could put on a good match if you paid him. But he did.
And managed to not be completely obsessed with his ass the whole time.
Yeah, he did enough. He did enough ass-based offense, but it wasn't, the bulk of it. And impersonating Shinsuke Nakamura wasn't the bulk of the match either. He didn't play it for comedy. There were a few comedy spots that he put in, but for the most part, it was a serious match back and forth with him and Kushida, and it worked.
And I like serious Taguchi. He's a guy that when he's really on his A game, that's when I'm fine with him. It's just when he has a 100% comedy match, that's when it gets tiring to me.
To me, I don't mind so long as it's not in something like Best of the Super Juniors. Like if it's an undercard match or something, or if it's part of a 6-man or an 8-man tag and he comes just wearing something completely ridiculous to the ring, and he's got his 30 seconds in the ring during a 6-man match or something like that, that I don't mind.
Right. If it's like Taguchi Japan and he gets in there and does his one spot during their 10-man tag, then I'm fine with that. But like a serious tag team match or a one-on-one match where it's all comedy, no.
You know, like during Fantastica Mania where he comes out wearing the Pharaoh mask and does the Egyptian gimmick and does mummy moves. I mean, that I can get down with. But yeah, in Best of the Super Juniors, and yeah, one of my big pet peeves was Suzuki-gun and all the goddamn interference, especially in Tai Chi matches. And, oh god, you want to see interference to the max. It was El Desperado taking on Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Taka Michinoku and Tai Chi were at ringside, and they were both interfering, but they were interfering for both parties. And at one point, Despy took a chair and hit both of them. It was not a good match, but
you were at least happy. You were like, fine, hit them both with a chair. They both deserve it.
Well, kind of. I was like, just please keep hitting Tai Chi. But yeah, surprisingly, my third best match of Best of the Super Juniors was the match between Hiromu Takahashi and Tai Chi. And that's just because Hiromu was able to pull a good match out of Tai Chi. And that's even better than trying to pull a good match out of Taguchi, because Taguchi can work, but Tai Chi just seems just unredeemable. But Hiromu managed to get a very good match out of him, got him out of his comfort zone. We talked about it a little bit last week. And yeah, just because Tai Chi was in a match that I not only didn't hate, but that I liked, that in and of itself deserves a place in the top matches of Best of the Super Juniors.
Well, it's interesting that he ends up in the best of, because he's probably also ending up in your worst of.
He is, and yeah, I mean, there's people who had talked about Ricochet and Will Ospreay this year, like their match. I think I'm in the minority who liked their match last year better. But yeah, Tai Chi did end up in my worst match, and I don't even consider this a match as much as it was just a cancerous polyp on the anus of professional wrestling, and that was Tai Chi versus Taka Michinoku. Just
yeah.
Ugh.
You didn't even have to tell me when you said you had a list. I knew right away that was at the top.
Yeah, that was the one where Abby hadn't seen it yet, and I'm like, ooh, let me know after you watch it. I want to know if it made you curse. And it did.
I think it made her say, fuck that owl, and it wasn't even Impact, and that's saying something.
Yeah, fuck that owl, but that's my worst match, and then for other worst matches, just pretty much pick any B-Block match, excluding the second to last B-Block show. Just pick a match at random from B-Block that wasn't on that second to last night for B-Block, and it's going to be your second, third, fourth, whatever worst match. Bonus points if you choose the Volador Jr. match.
Yeah, you were not high on Volador or Tai Chi at any point during this whole thing.
Volador Jr. on that second to last night, the one that I'm excluding, he had a serviceable match with ACH, though most of that was ACH hitting an insane 5 consecutive suicide dives.
Yeah, ACH really had on his working shoes in that match.
Yeah, I mean, at one point during the tournament, I tweeted out to Twitter, I was like, is Volador Jr. good in CMLL? Because he sure hasn't shown me anything in a New Japan ring.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he's better than he's shown in this tournament. I will give him that.
I would hope so. Another thing that I really found interesting with this is kind of how the whole heel and face dynamic goes out the window. You have, especially in these small towns, when the legends come through, like Liger. Liger gets a huge pop, even at the little high school gymnasiums that, have, maybe 500 people in them. Another one that got a huge pop today that I'm surprised at because he's a huge monster heel, Taka Michinoku. Yeah. He had Dragon Lee with a Michinoku driver, and the crowd went nuts and cheered for Taka. And it's like, yeah, because Taka has been around so long, and, they know Taka, they know Taka's body of work, and it's just like, yeah, we like him because he's a legend. We don't care that he's part of Suzuki-gun.
Exactly. He's a legend, and the move that pretty much is used all around the world now is named after him, so why wouldn't they love seeing him hit that move?
Yeah, another thing that helped Taka, too, is during his matches, he was one of the few in Suzuki-gun that didn't have his stablemates at ringside interfering on his behalf. His matches were pretty much clean.
There almost should be a rule, and I know it's pro wrestling, and there really isn't. There's no such thing as a rule that can't be broken in pro wrestling, but during something as important as Best of the Super Juniors, we really need Red Shoes just out there throwing out everybody. Like, no interference. It's too important. Exactly. You can't get involved. You can't.
Speaking of which, yeah, just why even bother having New Japan referees? Just get a computer to count 3 or to count to 20. The one spot that really gets my goat is when a wrestler is pinned, the referee's arm is coming down for a 3 count, the wrestler who's pinned catches the arm. Why is that not an automatic disqualification?
Okay.
You've just interfered with the referee in the course of his duties.
Thank you. I said the exact same thing a couple of weeks ago with the Backlash pay-per-view when somebody got dragged out of the ring on a near fall. I was like, how is that automatically not a DQ?
Yeah, that happened too with Suzuki-gun, and that was what I was thinking too. Why is that not a DQ?
Yeah. Even among a sport where there's no such thing as logic and anything goes, there still needs to be some semblance of reality to it for us to be able to be entertained by the match itself and to get invested in the wins or losses. If you just have no semblance of reality whatsoever, then, well, you got WWE.
Yeah, you get to the point where I'm saying, why even bother having referees? But, Liger had his Tomoaki Hanma moment, too, on the last A-Block show.
That's generally not a good thing, considering what condition Hanma is in right now.
You know how Hanma is always looking for that elusive win during the G1? Liger went winless until his last match, and then he beat Tai Chi. He paid a price for it. He got one of the horns on his mask clipped off with the scissors. He got his mask ripped up. He got the top of his whatever suit cut up with the scissors, but he ended up at least beating Tai Chi, and the crowd loved it.
Yeah, and if you're gonna beat anybody, Tai Chi, because he doesn't matter at all, and since it's Liger's last ever Best of the Super Juniors, gotta give him at least 2 points. You can't have him go Stone Cold 0.
And what really surprised me in this match was Taguchi Japan. Taguchi and Kushida both came to the ring to kind of even the score so that the Suzuki-gun members interfering, would have something to face off against. And it's just so odd to see face factions acting as a faction. Like, you almost never see that from Chaos. You'll see that from the heel factions like Bullet Club. You'll see that from Suzuki-gun.
And Los Ingobernables, they work together, yeah.
But yeah, you don't really see that from the face faction. So it was refreshing to see. It was like, yeah, if you're going to have a stable, that's the reason to do it. To have your stablemates back when the other stable is just playing the numbers game.
Exactly. That's supposed to be the point. Just like in years past in Survivor Series build-ups, that's always been the point of, like, Cena picking a team and Edge picking a team, is that the guys on that team look out for each other up until Survivor Series so they don't end up a man down when the time comes. So. Yeah,
as one podcast put it, it's like basically when you go to New Japan, it's like prison. You gotta pick a faction to stay alive.
Yeah, you gotta have a running crew, otherwise those Aryan Nation guys are gonna beat the piss out of you.
Otherwise you're a young lion and you're wearing black trunks.
Yeah, or tiger panties, one or the other.
Oh, yeah, well, he's part of Taguchi Japan, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess so, but I mean, there was a time when we were looking at those like going, oh my god, he's a man on an island, just because of the way he dresses.
Prince Leopard Panties.
That's in honor of Abby, since she's not here with us yet. So we had.
I really hope he's going to be on the New Japan America shows because he's got some name recognition, being Fit Finley's son. Mm-hmm. I think that would help get him over with some. I mean, not that I think any real casual fans would be able to get tickets to this, but they're showing it on Access, and that might help out with some of the people on Access saying, "Oh yeah, I know Fit Finley. He used to wrestle in WWE and WCW. That's his son. Cool."
Well, hopefully with the Access audience, since they're already watching New Japan every single week on that channel, they won't have any problem getting invested in it. They'll be like, yeah, we know all these guys. Now we're getting to see it live instead of on tape delay.
Yeah, I just don't know how often they would feature David Finley on the Access show.
Yeah, that's true. Generally, they're doing
They're doing more of the main events and semi-main events and tournaments and things. So.
Matches with Naito and matches with Tanahashi. That's usually the
Okada,
Shibata, top of the card stuff. You're right.
So yeah, I mean it would be good for the Access crowd to get to see David Finley and be like, oh yeah, that's Fit Finley's son. Cool.
Mm-hmm. So now we have the Best of the Super Juniors finals this Saturday at 4 a.m. and I believe
stupid o'clock.
Well, it's worth it though to see the finals of this because the winner gets to challenge
Hiromu Takahashi.
And yeah, a week later at Dominion. So you want to know the booking for Dominion, you have to watch this show.
Winner gets Time Bomb.
Might literally get time bomb, yes. Not just the man, but the move. You might, oh, boom, you're dead.
But yeah, at least Hiromu cherishes the belt he has, unlike Naito, who's just destroying that poor IC title.
Dude, I fucking love the shot of him trying to pay for food at the convenience store by putting his belt on the table. That's great.
Here, take this. Barter.
It's worth something, right? That's worth a few cents.
I mean, I can see that getting over in WWE where somebody gets a mid-card title and just completely says this is worthless.
And it's just, to me, it's the spirit of rebellion of Los Ingobernables de Japan in general. Just,
like,
they're
much as
badasses.
You know who I could see doing this?
Who?
The Miz. I could see The Miz doing this with the Intercontinental title.
No, cause see, it's not convincing with The Miz, cause he's not a badass. The reason it works for Naito is he's a badass, so if he's rude and disrespectful, he can get away with it, cause he's a fucking badass and he'll still kill you. The Miz don't scare nobody.
No, he doesn't.
So let's run down this Saturday's card, because we got more than just the finals on it.
Let me bring that up here.
Sure thing. Should have it in front of me myself, but I figured you'd beat me to it, so we're both scrambling here.
I was busy looking at the brackets and looking at the tiebreakers, and yeah, Kushida beat every single one of the people he was tied with, and that's how he advanced.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he got to the 8 points by basically beating everybody he needed to and then losing to everybody else.
Whatever works, as long as you get there in the end.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the card on the English site. The only thing that I have is the tournament final for Saturday's card.
That's weird. There's gotta be more than that. I mean, there's gotta be a full card for that show. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have the names. It just says A Block versus B Block. Yeah, let's see if it's on the official New Japan site.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to now. Tekken 7 presents Best of the Super Junior. That looks promising. Let's see. Oh no, this is the same thing you had. The match of A group versus the match of B group. That's not much of a card.
Damn it, New Japan.
Oh shit. This is where we need Abby, because she would fucking know what's on the rest of this card. Shit.
Maybe. I mean, they're Black Scorpion booking it.
Yeah.
They don't even know yet. They're doing the House of Horrors booking.
I guess so. Alright, well then, let me just get your prediction who you think's going on to face Hiromu Takahashi.
Ooh, this is a tough one. Because they really seem to be building a new direction for Kushida's character with the Back to the Future move, but at the same time, it would mean a lot for Will Ospreay to win it in back-to-back years and go on to win the title. I'm gonna go with Kushida.
I feel like Will Ospreay doesn't need it this year, and since they're trying to reinvent...
That's what you said last year.
I know. Deja freaking vu, right? But Will Ospreay is over because he's Will Ospreay, so I'm not worried about him. But if they're trying to reinvent Kushida, this would be the kind of win that would be really important to him, especially since he was mired in that block where, like you said, he had to just basically win by beating everybody he needed to beat once. So for him to advance in the finals in the A versus B block would really set the tone.
Well, he beat somebody else too, but yeah, basically, there's one other match that he won. But yeah, one of the other things that I had heard, I don't know if this is true or if this is just rumor, but that is Kushida is going to be involved with the New Japan Dojo that they're opening up in the United States. So I don't know if that's true, how that would fit in with a title run or whatnot, but...
Yeah, I'm not even saying that he necessarily goes over Takahashi, but I do think going to the match with Takahashi would definitely be a feather in his cap to say he won the whole shebang this year. It would really cement the new Back to the Future move if he got it over by hitting Will Ospreay with it.
Another reason I think they may give Kushida the victory in the Best of the Super Juniors is because Will Ospreay did defeat Hiromu Takahashi in the final Block A show in a one-on-one match. So even without winning Best of the Super Juniors, New Japan does this all the time where, like in the G1 tournament, if somebody beats the champion, they'll usually get a title shot somewhere down the line.
Right, exactly. Will Ospreay's place in line is secured, so he doesn't really need to win it outright to get a title shot.
I would like him to win it, but I think Kushida's going to win it. It's like, my heart is with Will Ospreay, but my head is saying Kushida's taking it.
I agree with you. I'm going for Kushida all the way, especially since I've been quietly, secretly cheering on Kushida this whole time. So for him to go to the very end and take it all, that would suit me just fine.
I've been not so quietly, not so secretly, just hating on all of B-Block.
Yeah, that's just it. You and I were in complete disagreement on very day one when we started talking about this. I was like, you know what? There's some sleepers in B-Block, and you've just been down on it ever since the beginning. There's been very few exceptions to that.
Yeah, Kushida and Taguchi had a good match, but Bushi never really did anything for me. Kanemaru and Volador Jr. were just the bottom of the barrel even as far as B-Block goes, they were the bottom of the barrel. Tiger Mask is Tiger Mask. He's kind of middle of the road. ACH, I was impressed with ACH. He didn't have many great matches, but I was impressed with his work. I was impressed with how he got over with the crowd. That super chant, really seemed to get over with the crowd. And then, they just never really took the handcuffs off of El Desperado, and he never got going either. So he needed the interference from Suzuki-gun, and
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty clear that A-Block had the better matches, which is the other reason why B-Block should win out in the end. It's like A-Block already proved what they needed to.
And one thing that I would like to see going forward, we saw some six-man tag team matches that had various members of Bullet Club team up with Marty Scurll and Kenny Omega. I would like to see Scurll and Omega continue forward as a tag team and go after War Machine.
Why not?
For the IWGP titles.
That is such a fun pairing because the villain is just such an awesome character right now, and Kenny Omega is arguably the best wrestler in the world right now, so putting the two of them together can only make great things happen.
And they're both great wrestlers, but they're also both great characters, which makes the team just like, oh, please, yes. Tag them up. They're both in Bullet Club. Have them go after War Machine. Have them challenge for those IWGP heavyweight tag titles.
And if you wanted to have something over when you brought New Japan to Japan for the G1 special, that would be a hell of a way to do it, would be to have Omega and Scurll as a team.
Especially for the live crowd that's going to be nothing but intelligent fans, so to speak.
Yeah, you're going to have the hardcore marks who are traveling to Long Beach for this show. They're going to know these guys in and out.
Yeah, Marty Scurll and Kenny Omega, they will mark out for that.
Mm-hmm. And since you're not going to probably put the title on Kenny Omega anytime soon, and I'm talking about the IWGP World title, then why not do something like this in the interim?
Maybe at Dominion, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. We'll find out. We'll have a better idea next week after this Best of the Super Juniors finals takes place, and then we'll have the full card laid out in front of us for Dominion. We've got most of it already, but with this one match left to be determined, I think we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll see how that show goes, and hopefully, sometime tomorrow the card will be up. I don't want to go into this completely blind, just waking up at 4 on Saturday morning going, what the hell am I watching?
Right, exactly. Give us something, New Japan. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we give a brief rundown of Extreme Rules?
Yeah, we can do that.
I know you're not excited about it, and neither am I, but it's WWE doing a pay-per-view every 2 weeks. That's part of the reason we're not excited.
Yay, every 2 weeks. Hooray.
Yes, it's brand split at its finest, and by finest I mean fuck you, WWE. So.
Fuck that non-owl.
Yeah. And, starting with the, fuck you of Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox.
Noam Dar in the 205 live mid-card title.
Yeah, why did putting Sasha Banks on 205 Live become a thing this week? Why did we suddenly need her on that show?
I think they wanted to do it to try to spike ratings for the show. I think they wanted to try to attract more viewers to 205 Live.
That's not working. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's not working because
that's the best I can come up with. But again, I'm trying to put logic into a WWE decision.
Well, it sure didn't change their fortunes this week because it didn't finish in the top 10, and I'm pretty sure that in Video on Demand it hasn't even finished in the top 20 in like a couple of months now.
Which is a shame because it's one of the best shows that WWE puts on.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the wrestlers on it or the quality of the matches they're having, and Neville has been a fucking star ever since he turned heel, but people just aren't into it. It's just not clicking.
It's like I make no secret of my disdain for the WWE, but I watch 205 Live, I watch SmackDown, so it's like I don't watch Raw, but I will watch SmackDown. SmackDown is kind of like, it's alright, but I enjoy 205 Live, especially when Akira Tozawa is on, because he was fucking awesome.
Yes. That's why I'm a little bit envious of Nikolai recapping the show every single Tuesday. It's like, dude, if you hadn't called dibs on this, just for Akira Tozawa alone, I would recap this show.
This is like the cruiserweight version of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Just fight forever.
Yeah, well, I think it's coming to a head now between Kendrick and Tozawa. I don't think it's going to go much longer.
I wouldn't mind if it did. I mean, they just seem to be able to continue the feud and one-up each other, and it's entertaining to watch.
Yes, but
it's the feud of the year, at least in WWE.
Yeah, but they're running out of lessons. There's only so many lessons that can be taught.
Yeah. So hopefully they don't do what they did with Sheamus and Cesaro. I don't want to see the two of them team up.
Yeah, that would be the worst possible outcome for this feud. They can't suddenly decide, oh, we like each other now. Fuck that.
We beat the hell out of each other, so yeah, let's be a tag team now.
No. And that only worked because Mick Foley is, Mick Foley. He gets away with making decisions like that, and people had to abide by them because who are you going to say no to? The Hardcore Legend? You're not going to tell him you don't want to do that. You're going to do it. Unless you're Braun Strowman, and then you don't tell anybody anything because you just do whatever you want because you're big.
You flip ambulances over.
Exactly. And I'm not finished with you! He needs to print that on a t-shirt, I swear to God. But anyway, Rich Swann, Sasha Banks, Noam Dar, Alicia Fox. Which team is winning?
Yeah, I'm going with Noam Dar and the 205 Live mid-card title there, Alicia Fox, because they're the ones that have something at stake. There's nothing at stake for Rich Swann and Sasha Banks. It's like they've got the last victory. They've been getting victory after victory after victory over Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. And basically Creative is going to have nothing for Noam Dar and Alicia Fox if they lose here.
Not to mention, Sasha is eventually going back to challenging for the women's title on Raw, so this
One would hope.
Yeah, this is just a stopgap. This is just something for her to do in the meantime.
But yeah, and with Noam Dar getting the victory over Rich Swann, it allows that feud to continue, too.
I agree.
Where it's been very one-sided as of late, and as I said, if Rich Swann ends up winning, it's like, why bother continuing the feud? Noam Dar just looks weaker and weaker and weaker and not like a threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he needs it for credibility here, so I'm 100% in agreement. But on that very same note and on the very same division, we have Neville defending against Austin Aries in a submission match. Now, does Austin need this win for his credibility, or does Neville retain?
I'm going to say the third time is a charm.
So you think Austin goes over this time?
I think because it's the third time and because he's got that last chancery move, I think he's going to win the submission match and the Cruiserweight title.
Well, it's interesting, though, because in his interviews to hype up the match, he's kind of been putting all his eggs in that one basket of the last chancery, and it's not like that's the only submission move he knows, so I almost think they're like teasing.
The swerve.
Yeah, they're teasing the swerve there that he's going to do it with something else.
Which would be interesting. Yeah, go to the well, and that's something that I'd like to see. It's like I like when wrestlers have more than one finisher.
Yeah, and Austin Aries got a shit ton of finishers, so
he's got a lot of moves in his repertoire, so maybe he'll break out something interesting.
And he's also got a new book, in case we didn't mention that. It's now available for pre-order. It's a book about living life according to your own rules and not anybody else's, which is about the most Austin Aries thing I can think of.
Yeah, pretty much.
That guy has never played by anybody's rules but his own, but that's what makes him great. So, we predict Aries to go over in the Cruiserweight title match. Then we have the Hardys defending their tag titles against Cesaro and Sheamus, who you mentioned just a moment ago. And this is a steel cage match.
Sheamus and Cesaro.
Wearing their kilts in unison. So are they taking the titles from the Hardy Boys?
Oh, hell no. Nobody's beating the Hardy Boys.
You don't think so?
Hardy Boys are holding on to those titles until they're ready to completely pull the trigger on the broken mat thing, and, well, that's kind of in limbo at the moment.
I agree, that is in limbo, and that situation has not been getting any nicer with both sides of the debate over who owns the gimmick, playing it out in public and outing all their secrets. It's just Well, we already went into that last week. I don't need to rehash that. But I'm just saying, you're right, but I feel like something's wrong with this. I feel like the Hardys have been so dominant up to this point since they won the titles. It makes me feel like they're being set up for a fall. Just like you said about...
feed my Spot Monkey addiction with some spots off the top of the cage, or climbing the cage and jumping off.
Oh, I'm sure of that. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the Hardys. But it's like you said earlier about Rich Swann, Sasha Banks, Noam Dar, Alicia Fox. It's like, Noam Dar and Alicia, they need that because what else are they going to do if they don't get the win? And I feel like it's almost the same story for Cesaro and Sheamus. Like, if they can't get the job done at this point, why wouldn't they break up and go back to being singles wrestlers? Why would they stay in this team?
Well, Cesaro could do that, but Sheamus is, like, hated more than Roman Reigns.
At this point, I find that debatable.
Well, the last time that they faced off with the title, Roman Reigns was getting the cheers, as bizarre as that sounds.
Yeah, well, that was because Sheamus had that 2-week run when he cashed in Money in the Bank. So I think people were like, no, fuck this.
We hate you more, Sheamus.
Yeah. But these days, in 2017, I feel like that dynamic would be completely reversed. Now he'd be the face, and Roman would be the heel.
That I would like to say. That would be really bizarre.
Yes, well, that's the situation we're in with WWE. Everything is really bizarre right now because they keep pushing things that don't work and keep expecting them to. So, let's see if we talk about something that does work. Alexa Bliss, Little Miss Bliss, the easily most hateable and simultaneously most cute member of the Raw Women's Division, with Bayley challenging her in a Vince Russo special. Why don't you tell the people what that is?
That is something on a pole. It could be Viagra, it could be Judy Bagwell, it could be a coal miner's glove. In this case, it's a kendo stick.
Yes, and they did one of the most hideous segments I've seen on Raw in a fortnight to promote this by doing This Is Your Life, with Alexa introducing all these people that supposedly knew Bayley from her childhood, and it was not believable, and it was lame, bad comedy.
Worst segment that WWE has put on this year?
It's not just worst this year, it's worse than the other This Is Your Life. Then the only time it's ever worked is the very first time they did it with The Rock and McFoley. It's never been good since then.
Worse than the old day?
Worse than that. Worse than, when, Gallows and Anderson had the testicles in a jar. Yeah.
Oh god.
It's worse than that. It was worse. It's clearly front runner for worst of 2017. And we're a long way.
House of Horrors is still there. The whole, well, not just House of Horrors, but the whole Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton feud.
Yeah.
I think is kind of the front runner. But this might be a close second.
I agree. Nothing is really going to top the dirty, fat, swamp Gandalf wizard. You know, that's number one with a bullet in my book. So you're right.
I mean, yeah, the whole thing with the crucifix and with the maggots projected onto the ring, and then the House of Horrors with the dolls and the cameraman's shadow on the wall, and
oh yeah,
the refrigerator covered in poop or whatever it was.
Exactly. But that's the sad thing, is that with Alexa and Bayley, they're both incredibly talented. Alexa's charisma is off the charts. Bayley is such a fantastic wrestler and really over with kids. But yet, we're to the point that we're now comparing it to Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. That's where this feud has gotten us.
And I'll go with my same logic, but I'm going to reverse my decision on it. Bayley is the one with all the stakes. Bayley's the one who needs to win, but they're not going to because the WWE hates Bayley.
Yeah, they had her lose in her hometown, so I don't know why they would reverse that trend right now, especially given that the women's title has been a hot potato, especially on Raw. They don't need to do that.
They really need to reverse it to get Bayley some credibility, but there's just something they don't like about Bayley. They just enjoy making Bayley look weak. They enjoy making her look awkward and not like a credible threat at all.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, for all those reasons, plus I think they just are enthralled by how much presence Alexa has for so young in her career. In fact, I will give her credit for one thing on the This Is Your Life segment. The way she shuts down the crowd every time they try to stun a what chant on her, she's fucking gold at that. But other than that, it was just a bad segment. But still, in that she had moments of brilliance. But yes, Alexa retains.
That's what I see.
So we have Dean Ambrose, the unstable one, defending his title against The Miz in a singles match where if he gets disqualified, Miz wins the title. Is this a setup?
I think we may see a double swerve here. There's definitely going to be some fuckery. Like what would be to stop Maurice from just wailing on the Miz when the bell rings and oh, there you go, Dean Ambrose is disqualified.
Yeah, I guess you could do that if they were going that direction, but then that would be such a shitty finish that how are you going to fill this pay-per-view? Because that would only take 30 seconds, and there's only
exactly. I don't think they're going to go quite to that extent, but kind of what I'm juggling here in the back of my mind is what if you have Maurice do a spot where she grabs a chair or something, and she's about to wail on it with the Miz, and the Miz is kind of like, I don't know if I want you to do this. And finally says, okay, just do it. She picks up the chair. Ambrose comes, shoves Miz out of the way. Maurice doesn't see it, nails Ambrose with the chair, and then Miz gets disqualified.
Yeah, you know what? This is WWE, so that kind of booking actually makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to throw all logic out the window and just go with what would WWE do, and that's what I can see them doing.
I like it. I'm going to just go ahead and agree with you that actually, Dean Ambrose maintains the title by Miz being disqualified. It seems like as good a thing as any to call.
Dean Ambrose via fuckery.
Yes, and speaking of fuckery, that leads us to the main event. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe, number one contendership for the Universal Championship is on the line. What's your pick?
Oh, my heart says Finn Balor is going to pin Samoa Joe, but my head says Roman Reigns is going to just knock everybody out. He's going to do a Superman punch into the palm of his other hand, and the shockwave is just going to knock the other four guys out cold.
Well, what about this fact that Samoa Joe has been on a quote-unquote unbeaten streak lately? Do you think that gives him any momentum going into this?
The other reason why I think it might be Finn pinning Joe or Joe pinning Finn is they had Samoa Joe watching the WWE special on Finn Balor.
It seems like he's taken a personal interest in Finn and possibly screwing him at every chance he gets.
In one way or another, regardless of the outcome, I'm hoping we'll see that feud from NXT rekindled after this. Like, even if Finn Balor wins, you could have Samoa Joe interfere in his championship match and cost him the match.
Yeah, I am totally with you on that. But unfortunately, like you said, this is WWE and they've got a hard-on for Roman Reigns, so that's probably the way they're going here.
Yeah, I'm going to say Roman Reigns. I don't know who he's going to pin, or he doesn't really know any submissions, but I'll say he pins Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I think
because they love jobbing out Wyatt almost as much as they love jobbing out Bayley.
Exactly. And right now, Bray Wyatt, since he had a 1-month title reign, he's so far down the cards right now, he might as well do the job.
And that was a 1-month title reign on the other show.
That's true, too. So it doesn't even carry any weight on Raw. Nobody theoretically on Raw even knows about it, because they're different brands.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think that leads us into Jordan's Corner, so without further ado, I'm going to let Kevin put him on the line, because we haven't heard from him for a few weeks, so let's see what Jordan has to say. Jordan!
Wow! I hear a familiar voice.
Yes, I do as well. It's time for Jordan's Corner, right here with Stevie J and Jason on Thursday Night AMP. So how are you doing, Mr. Garber?
Oh my goodness, it's been a long time. It's great to hear from you guys. I miss everyone listening from AngryMarks.com. Believe it or not, I actually have people on Facebook and Twitter message me and tell me, hey, when are you going to be on the Angry Marks show? When are you going to check that out? And, I'm here and it's great to be back again. Definitely most of my following comes from Angry Marks. And actually, I believe it's on June the 5th, in 4 days actually, marks my 3rd anniversary with the website. So, absolutely great to be here.
Well, there's no better time to celebrate that anniversary than with the news of all the wonderful interviews you've been doing lately, including with former Impact Wrestling star Jesse Neal.
Absolutely. I was doing some interviews and I'm sitting there and I'm like this today. I like to open up a little bit to the fans, personally, I haven't been feeling the greatest. A little bit of Tuesday blues more now than often. But what always makes me feel good is when I work on an article and I put it together. I know the audio in the beginning of that interview wasn't good, but I really liked the connection I had with Jesse Neal in that interview. I liked how he discussed everything and discussed the business, and not just doing an interview, but creating a friend in the business as well, I highly recommend you guys check out that interview on VOCNation.com. Jesse Neal is a great guy. He goes in depth on training with the Dudleys and how they taught him how to respect the business, and there's just so much good stuff in there that you can't miss. So, I'm not telling you to listen to it just to listen to me. I'm telling you to listen to it to, take away something from the business and kind of just, see what he has to say from his story, because, he's, like myself, he's been through a lot worse patches, and he's definitely gotten through them. So you got to respect the guy, and it's definitely a headline quality interview, and that's all because of him.
I agree, but you also pulled something good out of him in the process. So don't downplay yourself too much, because it takes two to tango.
Absolutely not.
You did a good job.
Well, as long as I've been learning more too. I like the community and the networks that I'm creating with people and different perspectives on the business and how it can change, going with different locker rooms, learning different styles of the business, different wrestling styles. This business has so much. And that's why there's hundreds of podcasts. Like, there could be a university course in just wrestling. There's so much to observe and so much to learn, and it's great. It's great. I think once you say you've known everything, is when the moment you sound quite stupid. So I know nothing. I'm just enjoying the ride.
I agree with you. That's always something
I do want to bring up.
Go ahead.
I wanted to bring up Jinder Mahal, because it's not all about, good moments and all that. I want to talk about, what's actually going on with our world in professional wrestling right now. And it's changed. It's definitely, been controversial to see Jinder as the WWE champion, and people ask, oh, you'll bring this up because it's the most common topic. No, I'll bring it up because he's Canadian. It's cool to see a world champion from Canada. His gimmick, I love it. He is attracting heat like a magnet with this gimmick. You guys have to agree with that. It's something new, and you guys might disagree, and most likely you guys will, on some points of it, but I think it's colorful. It's exactly what it needs right now.
I will say both something positive and negative about him, since you haven't had a chance to get in our previous conversations about him. The positives, I will say, is that he's respected in the locker room, he works hard, and he's obviously driven by his internal desire to be a great wrestler and to accomplish great things. But the negative, I will say, is that he got this push unexpectedly out of nowhere. People suspect it has something to do with his improved physique, and it has no credibility since he had a losing record for the last 10 years or so before he suddenly became number one contender. So there's an upside and a downside.
Yeah, the way that I best heard it phrased is you're watching a Batman movie, and Batman in the first half of the movie apprehends the Joker, beats his ass, throws him in jail. Second half of the movie, there is just a purse snatcher. A guy snatches a purse off an old grandma, takes that purse and just starts wailing on Batman and just beats Batman to a pulp, almost to the point of death. That's Jinder Mahal.
I just look at it all in a nutshell as we have those, with any positive comes negative. And that's very true on what you guys stated. He was on a losing streak. This guy went in 3MB. But I think, if they do it the right way, they could turn that around and turn that downside into a positive by saying, 2 years ago, this guy was just this, and now look at him. Obviously we know that, Jinder Mahal might be doing some, whatever. I don't know the case, but his body's massively improved in a very short amount of time. So, that brings along that. But think about it. It's the pro wrestling business. It's supposed to be full of big men. And I believe at the same time in the other theory, he went to the gym. He busted his ass. This guy's busted his ass since day one.
But the one other thing that I think really sticks in my craw about it is something you said right off the top when you started about him, is that he's a Canadian Indian wrestler, not an Indian wrestler, and they're pushing him as being this heel because he's of Indian descent. And as Jason and Abby have both pointed out on this show, we don't hate India. He's being presented as a heel who is of Indian descent, but we have nothing against India or people from India, and he's not even Indian, he's Canadian. So how do you respond to that? It's like, it's supposed to be a heel gimmick, but how are we supposed to hate him?
Oh, exactly. That's the point too. There are a lot of reasons to hate him, but I've been watching it on TV, and I've definitely, been at least, I could assume people hated what he did on Randy Orton, and the finish on how he won the title. I kind of noticed a little bit of, like, as a fan, a little bit of, damn, he fucking won, he actually did it. And noticing that, when Orton did the DDT on the Bollywood boys, or the Singh brothers, as we should say now, to see Jinder Mahal, he did that finish perfectly. And I thought the crowd response for that was incredible. I think everything was done the right way for him as a heel to win the title in the first place. Because I remember watching that, and I was even like, wow. If I was a fan, I would be screaming at. If I was like a hardcore fan and like was actually thought wrestling was whatever, I would scream at the TV right now. And I said that to myself. So I think it's basically a 90% positive on this Jinder Mahal situation.
I will say more like 2080, and I think there's more negatives than positives just because he should have been built up over a long time. He should have been presented in a way that made him a heel before he won the title, not during and after. And he should have been pushed as a guy who was credible before he looked like Batista swallowed Batista.
Yeah, he's huge, and that came out of nowhere, which is going to raise some suspicion, obviously, from the wrestling media world. But I tend to be the show guy about it. I think I'm just going to say he's gone to the gym, because he's obviously did. He's gone to the gym and he's busted his ass to get that body. So I don't even think people should even start on steroid rumors for that fast body development, because even when he was on the independent scene, he was in town, and when he goes to the gym, like, he goes hard. Like, it's insane. Watching him go to the gym is like a clinic.
Well, that's something William Huckabee pointed out, though, and I know Abby disagreed with it, but something he said about it rang true, which is that if you are on the gas, you have to work out twice as hard as everybody else, because otherwise you're not activating those steroids and not turning that into muscle. So if he does work out, I'm sure he works out like a beast, because whether he's on the gas or not, if he was, he needs to do it to maintain, and if he wasn't, then he really does need to do it twice as hard.
Exactly, and you bring up that word. You bring up the thing I didn't want to bring up. It's just so ridiculous how even fans and idiots like Nancy Grace bring up steroid allegations in wrestling. Yes, it happens. However, you're not even, they barely bring up the fact how that has been abused in Major League Baseball to almost as much as pro wrestling. Do you look back at Mark McGuire? Are you kidding me?
Oh, Roger Clemens, too, for that matter. Clemens, Canseco, McGuire, yeah.
Baseball, football, it's part of sports. And I don't think the media should look down on that. Every good thing has a bad to it. It's sports. It's not right. I'm not saying it is, but, it's sports. Just don't rate it on wrestling, because guess what? It happens almost as equally as any other professional major sport. So, I think you guys can definitely agree with me on that point.
Well,
I
do. You can't single out wrestling alone. It's endemic in sports culture in general, and that needs to be addressed across all sports. So, on that note, we will conclude an agreement with you and let you get in some cheap plugs.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed bringing up that Jinder Mahal story. I look forward to seeing the development of it. It should be very interesting. For all of my plugs and information like that, you can check me out on Twitter at Jordan J. Garber. Check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/JGarber1. Snapchat, Jordan J. Garber. Instagram at Jordan J. Garber. And check me out every Tuesday night, 10:30 p.m. Central, live on VOCNation.com.
Sounds good, Jordan, and we will see you back here in 7 days.
Thank you again, guys. Thanks for the 3 years so far. I'm looking forward to another 3 more.
Absolutely. So take care, Jordan. We'll see you again in a little while.
Take care.
All right, Jordan J. Garber, right here on Thursday Night AMP, like he said, celebrating 3 years with this podcast. So we are very happy to have known him all that time and to have had him be a part of our family. And speaking of a part of our family, Abby is just asking right now in the chat if we tried to call her or not. So, Kev, do you want to try to call her right now?
Hello.
Hey, Abby.
Yes.
Hi.
welcome to the show. We've already talked about Extreme Rules, so you'll be happy to know you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Oh, well, that's good.
I figured you might want to get in before we wrap it up, though, to give your thoughts on the finals of Block A and Block B and the fact that we've got our 2 finalists for Saturday.
I just feel they went the safe route this year with Best of the Super Juniors. I was kind of looking for something different, and I just feel they went the safe route with Kushida and Ospreay again.
That is almost exactly what Jason said, so you two are 2 peas in a pod tonight.
Yep. Safe conservative booking.
So, what's your pick
Personally,
Oh, go ahead.
I don't want to see it again. I mean, I saw it last year, and they didn't do anything with it, so I don't necessarily want to see it again this year.
But your pick for Saturday between the 2 of them, who goes on to face for the time bomb, face for the title?
I'm guessing Kushida, since that's the story they've been telling up till now.
Well, then,
I can't see him going with Ospreay again because they did that last year and didn't do anything with him.
Right. And the one wild card that I was saying, Abby, is that in the last match, Ospreay had a win over Hiromu, and they can kind of play that up later in the year if they want to for a title shot for Ospreay.
Yeah, but I mean, they had Ospreay win last year and didn't go anywhere with him.
They did absolutely nothing, yeah.
Plus, like I said to Jason earlier, it seems like if they're gonna reinvent Kushida and give him a new finisher and give him a new push, what better way to establish him than have him go on, even if he doesn't win the title at Dominion, at least have him go on to be in that match.
I just don't understand it because they don't do anything with Kushida when he's got the title. So, I don't know, the whole booking thing is kind of odd to me.
A little bit, but of course you and I were both hoping for Marty Scurll, so that in itself is a disappointment.
Yes, very.
Although Jason did have a really good idea that I thought we should run by you. He said that Skrull and Omega should work as a team, capture the heavyweight tag titles, and bring them to America for the G1 special.
Give them all the titles. I don't care. Give them the bird titles. I mean, I don't care. They're so fun together.
Indeed. And like I said, there's just a natural charisma right now when you've got the best wrestler in the world versus the most charismatic villain in the world. I think great things happen when they're together.
They're so much fun. I mean, the whole bird impersonations. I mean, they just get along so good.
Whoop whoop.
Mm-hmm.
And doing the jogging and flapping the arms. Yeah, that was hilarious. But yeah, Skrull was in it. I would give my best and worst matches of the tournament, and my best was Ricochet versus Marty Scurll.
And the worst, predictably, was Taka Michinoku versus Tai Chi.
I think Abby would agree with the worst. I don't know about the best.
I can't remember what my best was. I think it actually I actually think my best was Kushida and Taguchi.
Yeah, that was number 2 on my best list. That was an awesome match.
And Hiromu and Skrull. Those, I think, were my 2 best.
And Hiromu and Tai Chi, just forget a good match out of Tai Chi.
Yeah, Hiromu and Tai Chi had a good match, which was absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
I think it was actually on that day. It was the best on that day. Go ahead, Abby.
Worst is Taka and Tai Chi, because I get what they were trying to do, but it was just stupid.
It did not work. It did not come off very well.
So, Abby, what's going on with Top Rope Press? Anything in the news that we should discuss?
After I dropped my phone there. Let's see. Let's look back since last week. We talked about the whole fuck that owl situation last week.
Yeah, not really much has changed since then.
No.
Oh, I know. We should talk about 5 Star canceling their entire tournament.
Yeah, I was getting to the Manchester thing. It's like, why?
It's a flimsy excuse at best. Manchester has nothing to do with their tournament at all.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
It's more like...
I mean, we saw that NXT canceled their show there this coming week.
Right, which was actually there at that same venue, so out of good taste, I could see it, but not these shows that were booked for this 128-man tournament. I don't think any of them were there.
That just all seemed kind of squirrely to me when that came out. What does it today that it came out?
Yeah, and even before today, there were already ripples in the ocean of Twitter because there were a lot of wrestlers that worked for 5 Star complaining that they were going to have to find alternate bookings, so you knew something was up.
Well, shit happens and shit promoters are still out there, so.
Yeah, I normally would take Ryback to task for making comments because he's so full of himself, but when he said this guy thinks he's the Vince McMahon of Scotland and he's not, well, maybe Ryback actually had a point.
He makes them on occasion, just not very often.
Yeah, it's like the broken clock being right twice a day. Ryback actually got that one right. We should have known that it was, writing was on the wall when he was trying to offer CM Punk $1 million. Like, dude, you ain't got enough money to run your shows, let alone give Punk $1 million.
Yes, I wrote a piece over the weekend of the best and worst hair in all of wrestling that was just stupid and funny, and I needed a break from reality, which y'all should definitely go out there and read because it was hilarious.
Hopefully it has much about Stupid Tana and his stupid hair.
Tana is the best of the best and the worst of the worst.
He is equally both things. I cannot disagree with that.
Best of the best, worst of the worst.
Hopefully Chase Owens and his man bun was also on the list.
Actually, the man bun itself made the list.
Okay, that's perfect. But sorry, go ahead.
This past weekend, Progress Wrestling held their Super Strong Style 16 tournament, and they crowned their first women's champion in Toni Storm. So she is their first women's champion, and Travis Banks won the tournament itself. He won Super Strong Style 16.
Awesome.
They should have the tournament up this weekend on their on-demand service. What else we got? Ring of Honor landed a television deal in India. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on in India why everybody is going over there.
Did get some more insight into that today, actually, because Meltzer was on Observer Live talking about it, and he said that WWE is under the misguided belief that between YouTube viewership and social media activity and a number of homes in which the network is available, that India is their number one market. Although in terms of their actual TV rights fees, they're a distant third behind the UK and the United States.
So the potential is there, but the money is not.
Exactly.
Well, then that makes a whole lot of sense then. Lindsay Okado has been injured. They've released Seth Rollins and Kurt Angle DVDs. Let's see. Other than that, it's been basically best of the Super Juniors. Yep. Nothing else much big happened this week, and all the stuff in India.
Yep, 2 tapings in India, and at one of them they crowned Sanjay Dutt the new X Division champion.
Maybe the 47,000th time is the star.
Well,
maybe this one will stick.
Yeah, well, right now, if you're of Indian descent and you work for any one of these companies, you got a good chance of being pushed as a champion, because they all want to go to India now.
Except WWE, they don't want to go.
Yeah,
they canceled their tour.
That was the other funny thing about hearing Dave tell it, is like, they have done 2 tours in 15 years, and the reason they don't go there very often is because, as you said, the potential is there, but the problem is making that potential become actual energy that translates into revenue, because people there don't like to pay for tickets to things. They like to have corporate sponsors pay for an event and then let people in for free. People there are not used to paying for tickets.
Which is stupid, because you're not going to make any money by giving stuff away for free.
No, but that's what they're doing, though, is they give it away for free to engender goodwill towards these companies. It's like sponsored by, India's leading manufacturer of tires. So you'll remember that after the show, because that's the way advertising works there.
Well, fine, you'll remember that after the show, but WWE's not going to make any money off these people remembering the tire place after the show.
Right, yeah. WWE needs people to actually pay for a ticket to a show, and it's proving to be
network subscriptions after the fact. I think that's what they're missing out on. Are these people that aren't going to pay for the event, likewise aren't going to pay for a network subscription.
Yes, and that's what callers to both Observer Live and to Live Audio Wrestling have been pointing out, is that they have a big problem getting that kind of capitalization in India, because people there are used to getting stuff for free on television. They're not used to paying for a network subscription. They're not used to paying for pay-per-view.
Well, they need to get over it. I mean, Vince isn't going to do anything for free. I think he's made that pretty clear over the years.
That is for damn sure. So, to wrap it up, I'll give you this chance to anything you want to say about Extreme Rules on Sunday. Probably not much, but the floor is yours.
God, Extreme Rules is Sunday?
Yeah, we're back to the every 2 weeks thing again.
I don't even know what the damn card is.
Very briefly, I'll run down the whole thing, and if something strikes your fancy, go ahead and talk about it, because Jason and I already ran it down. But the 6 matches, and there are only 6 announced at this time, are Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, Neville versus Austin Aries, the Hardys defending against Cesaro and Sheamus, Alexa defending against Bayley, Dean Ambrose defending against The Miz, he can lose on a DQ, and the 5-way with Roman Reigns, Seth, Finn, Bray, and Samoa Joe.
Miz wins, Finn wins, Alicia Fox wins with some help from Nia Jax, Sheamus and Cesaro win.
Oh, wow.
Aries wins, and Swan and Sasha Banks win.
I agree with you there. Alexa retains, and I think you caught both of us by surprise by saying Cesaro and Sheamus will win, but I did suggest to Jason that it seems like they're at the point of breaking up if they don't win something soon.
They need to break up.
Yes, they do. I don't see them ever taking titles off the Hardys either until they've got the broken match situation cleared up.
All right. Well, with that said, Abby, I'll give you the floor for some cheap plugs.
Cheap plugs this week: Top Rope Press, Angry Marks. You can find me on Twitter at Abby A. This weekend we will have the finals of Best of Super Juniors on Saturday morning. I think at 2 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Could be at 4.
Yeah, I think it was 4 a.m. Eastern.
And then we start the road to Dominion, which will be on the 11th.
Should be.
And also I will plug Progress, Rev Pro, and OTT, their streaming services.
All right.
Out of the UK, especially Progress.
Progress seems to be the one that's most financially secure right now out of all of the promotions. They're the ones that aren't canceling shit, so.
Well, Progress, they're tied in with WWE in a way, and Rev Pro, they're coming up with their UK junior tournament, which should start off rather shortly, which should be good.
Yes, something to look forward to, and you know that Abby will have coverage of it at Top Rope Press, so you don't want to miss it. All right, Jason, what are your cheap plugs?
You can find me on Twitter at Great Sudoku. I'll also plug NJPWWorld.com because it is the best 999 yen you can spend a month. You definitely want to get in for the finals of Best of the Super Juniors. And yeah, starting next week, my guilty pleasure in sports is starting up. The preseason of Canadian football with games on Tuesday, June 6th, 2 on Thursday, June 8th, the game on the 10th, which is a Saturday and 11th. A Sunday, if you're in Canada, you can watch that on TSN. If you're not in Canada, hey, get Cody and find a IPTV plug-in that has TSN. And during the regular season, you can watch CFL games on the Watch ESPN app, but not during the preseason.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't you want to watch it? Because there's no college football and there's no NFL right now. So if you want your fix of football, CFL is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My cheap plugs for the week are follow me on Twitter at AngryMarks, coverage of all things mixed martial arts at MMAmania.com, where I'm a regular features writer and frequent interviewer, so please do stop by MMA Mania and read what I write, and read all the fine articles they have on that site. But most of all, go to Top Rope Press and read what Abby writes, because it's pretty much everything on that site. She's working so damn hard, you should give her some rub and go over there and read all the stuff she does. So